What if the person you're trying so hard to become is actually making you forget the person you already are? Think about that for a second. You wake up and decide you need to improve yourself. You need to become more disciplined, more confident, more attractive, more successful, more productive, more spiritual, more intelligent, more interesting. You see someone online and think, I need to become more like that. You read a book and suddenly discover 10 things you need to fix about yourself. You watch a motivational video and leave thinking, okay, tomorrow I'm going to become a completely different person. Maybe that's exactly where the problem begins, because personal growth is supposed to help you become more yourself. But what if you've accidentally turned growth into a never-ending project of replacing yourself? What if every time you think you've finally become enough, you immediately create another version of yourself that you need to become, and so you spend your entire life moving toward a person who doesn't actually exist yet, always becoming, always improving, always fixing, always preparing, always saying, I'm going to be better, rarely stopping to ask, what is wrong with who I am right now? That's the question I want you to sit with today, because there is nothing wrong with wanting to grow. Growth is beautiful. Changing your habits can be beautiful. Learning can be beautiful. Becoming more confident can be beautiful, but there is a very subtle difference between I want to grow and I need to become someone else before I can accept myself. Two things can look almost identical from the outside, but internally they create completely different lives. Think about how you talk to yourself. Maybe you say, when I become disciplined, I'll finally respect myself. When I become successful, I'll finally feel proud of myself. When I become confident, I'll finally stop worrying about what people think. When I lose my fear, I'll finally start living. When I become the best version of myself, then I'll be happy. What's happening? You're constantly placing yourself on the other side of a finish line. There is you now. And there is this imaginary, upgraded version of you somewhere in the future. And you've decided that version is worthy of the things you're currently denying yourself: rest, confidence, love, peace, celebration. Self-respect, you keep telling yourself, not yet, I'm not there yet, I still have work to do. Because there is always something you can improve. There is always a reason why you aren't allowed to fully accept yourself. You can always become more disciplined. There is always more money to make, another goal to reach, another skill to learn, another insecurity to fix, another level to reach. And if you're not conscious of this pattern, personal development can become a very sophisticated form of self-rejection. You can spend years studying how to become better, without ever learning how to simply be with yourself. And here's the strange part. The person you're trying to become is usually built from an idea. You imagine, the confident version of me would act like this. Successful version of me would wake up at this time. Healed version of me wouldn't react like this. High-value version of me wouldn't tolerate this. Best version of me would never struggle with this. You create this perfect character in your mind, and then you compare your actual human experience to that character. Of course you feel behind. The imaginary version of you doesn't have bad days. She doesn't get tired. She doesn't overthink. She doesn't make mistakes. She doesn't change her mind. She doesn't have moments of insecurity. She is perfectly disciplined, perfectly confident, perfectly calm, perfectly productive. And then you look at yourself and wonder why you aren't there yet. But maybe you're not supposed to become that person. Maybe you're supposed to become more deeply yourself. That's different. Imagine you have spent years trying to build a personality that people will approve of. Maybe you learned to be quiet because being expressive caused problems. Maybe you became extremely independent because you learned that relying on people could disappoint you. Maybe you became a perfectionist because mistakes once felt unsafe. Maybe you learned to constantly achieve because achievement gave you a sense of worth. Maybe you became the funny one, the responsible one, the strong one, the easygoing one, the person who never asks for anything, the person who always has everything together. And eventually, you forget that these are adaptations. You start thinking, this is just who I am. But is it? Or is it simply who you learn to be? That's a very different question. Because some of the traits you are most proud of may have started as ways of responding to your environment. And I'm not saying every part of your personality comes from some painful experience. Not at all. You are a complex human being. But your experiences influence you. The people around you influence you. Your environment influences you. The things you were praised for influence you. The things you were criticized for influence you. The roles you were given influence you. And eventually, all of these experiences can become part of your identity. So when you're trying to improve yourself, sometimes you're not actually improving. Sometimes you're simply adding another layer, another rule, another expectation, another identity, another version of who you think you're supposed to be. And underneath all of that, there's still you. This is why I think one of the most important questions you can ask yourself is, who am I when I'm not trying to impress anyone? Who are you when nobody is watching? Who are you when you don't need to prove that you're successful? Who are you when you don't need to look like you've figured everything out? Who are you when you aren't comparing yourself to someone else? Who are you when you're not trying to become your future self? That's where it gets interesting. Because you might realize that you don't actually know. And that's okay. You may have spent so much time becoming who you thought you should be that you've never given yourself enough space to discover who you actually are. Maybe you love things you stopped doing because they weren't productive. Maybe you have opinions you stopped expressing because you wanted to be liked. Maybe you want a completely different life from the one you thought you were supposed to want. Maybe you don't actually want to be the person you've been trying to become. Maybe you just want to be free enough to find out who you are without constantly judging the answer. And I want to make something very clear. This isn't an argument against self-improvement. Please don't hear. Don't grow. That's not what I'm saying. Read books, learn, exercise, build things, develop your skills, become more emotionally aware, set goals, change your habits, dream bigger. All of that can be incredible. The question is, where are you growing from? Are you growing because you're curious about what you're capable of, or are you growing because you secretly believe that who you are right now isn't worthy? There's a huge difference. One says, I wonder who I can become. The other says, I need to become someone else before I can finally love myself. One is expansion. The other is escape. And sometimes they look exactly the same. Think about the way you consume self-development content. You watch one video, you feel inspired. Then another, then another, then another. And suddenly you have 20 new things you're supposed to work on. Wake up earlier, journal, meditate, read, exercise, build a business, fix your mindset, heal your inner child, set boundaries, become disciplined, manifest, learn a skill, improve your communication, become more confident. And now you're overwhelmed. Because somehow your journey of becoming better has become another reason to feel like you're failing. You weren't supposed to collect identities. You were supposed to become more aware. And awareness doesn't always tell you to add something. Sometimes it tells you to remove something. Remove the belief that you have to impress everyone. Remove the belief that you have to have everything figured out. Remove the belief that resting means you're lazy. Remove the belief that changing your mind means you're inconsistent. Remove the belief that your worth has to be earned every morning. And maybe, underneath all of that, you discover something much quieter. Something that was there before all the goals, before the comparison, before the pressure, before the image of who you thought you were supposed to become. If you're enjoying this reflection, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who might need to hear it, and subscribe to this channel for more conversations about mindset, self-awareness, consciousness, growth, and becoming. Now let's go a little deeper, because there is another trap here. Sometimes we don't just want to become better, we want to become untouchable. We think, if I become confident enough, nobody can hurt me. I become successful enough, nobody can reject me. I become independent enough, I won't need anyone. I become emotionally intelligent enough, nothing will affect me. We create this perfect version of ourselves that cannot be hurt. But being human means being affected. You can be confident and still have moments of insecurity. You can have boundaries and still care deeply. You can be independent and still need people. You can be emotionally intelligent and still get angry. You can be successful and still have difficult days. You can be self-aware and still make mistakes. Growth doesn't remove your humanity. And you don't need to remove your humanity to become powerful. Maybe the real goal isn't to become someone who never struggles. Maybe it's to become someone who knows how to meet themselves when they do instead. Am I like this? You ask, what's happening inside me right now? Instead of, I shouldn't feel this way. You ask, what is this feeling trying to tell me? Instead of, I need to fix myself. You ask, what part of me needs attention? That is a completely different relationship with yourself. You're no longer treating yourself like a broken machine that needs constant repairs. You're listening, you're learning, you're becoming curious. And curiosity creates space. Think about a child discovering who they are. They don't wake up thinking, I need to optimize my personality today. They explore, they try things. They change their minds. They become interested in something and then move on. They ask questions. They make mistakes. They discover preferences. They express themselves. There's a natural curiosity there. And somewhere along the way, many of us replace curiosity with judgment instead of, I wonder what I like. We ask, what should I like? Instead of, who am I? We ask, who would people respect? Instead of, what do I want? We ask, what would make me successful? And slowly we start living according to an identity we designed for approval. That's exhausting, so how do you actually get out of this? You don't need to destroy your goals. You don't need to stop improving yourself. Start with something much simpler. Get curious about yourself without immediately trying to change yourself. Notice what you like. Notice what drains you. Notice what excites you. Notice what makes you uncomfortable. Notice when you're performing. Notice when you're trying to impress someone. Notice when you're saying yes but actually want to say no. Notice when you're pretending not to care. Notice when you're chasing something because you genuinely want it. And when you're chasing it because you think having it will finally prove something about you. Don't judge what you find. Just notice. Because awareness comes before change. You cannot genuinely choose who you're becoming if you haven't even taken the time to understand who you currently are. And here's another practice. The next time you catch yourself saying, I need to become more, finish the sentence. I need to become more confident. Ask, why? I need to become more successful. Why? I need to become more attractive. Why? I need to become more productive. Keep asking. Eventually, you may discover something underneath the goal. Maybe you want confidence because you want freedom. Maybe you want success because you want security. Maybe you want productivity because you want to feel in control. Maybe you want approval because you want to feel accepted. And once you understand the deeper desire, you can stop blindly chasing the surface-level version of it. You can actually give yourself what you're looking for in healthier ways. There is also something beautiful about realizing that you don't have to wait until your future self arrives before you can enjoy your life. You don't have to say, I'll be proud of myself when. You can be proud of yourself now, not because you've finished, but because you're here, you're learning, you're trying, you're figuring things out. And yes, maybe there are things you genuinely want to change them. But don't make self-acceptance conditional on the change. Don't say, I'll accept myself once I become better. Accept yourself while you become better. That's the difference. Because when you accept yourself while growing, growth becomes something you participate in, not something you use to escape yourself. And maybe that's the real meaning of becoming your best self. It's not creating a flawless character. It's not becoming someone who never struggles. It's not waking up one day and suddenly being completely transformed. Maybe your best self is simply the version of you who is most honest, most aware, most present, most willing to question what no longer fits, most willing to admit, I don't actually want this anymore. I was only doing that for approval. I don't believe that anymore. I need to change. I made a mistake. I actually like this. This matters to me. This doesn't. That's growth too. Sometimes becoming more yourself requires becoming less attached to the person you thought you were supposed to be. So, I want you to think about yourself differently after this video. Don't ask only, who do I want to become? Ask, who am I already? What parts of yourself have you been ignoring? What interests have you abandoned? What opinions have you silenced? What boundaries have you avoided? What dreams actually belong to you? What dreams did you inherit from other people? What parts of your personality are genuinely yours? And what parts were built simply because they helped you fit somewhere? You don't have to answer all of these today. Just start noticing. Because the more you notice, the less you automatically live from old programming. And the more consciously you choose, the more your life begins to feel like yours. Maybe you've been so focused on becoming the woman you admire that you haven't noticed the woman standing in front of you. Maybe you've been so focused on fixing your flaws that you haven't noticed your strengths. Maybe you've been so focused on your future that you've stopped experiencing your present. Maybe you've been so focused on becoming that you've forgotten to simply be. And there's nothing wrong with becoming, but becoming should not require you to abandon yourself. You can grow without rejecting yourself. You can change without hating who you were. You can want more without deciding that what you have isn't enough. You can become more confident without believing you are currently inadequate. You can build a new life without treating your old self like an enemy. Because the person you are today isn't an obstacle standing between you and your future. She's the starting point, so the next time you feel that familiar pressure to become someone completely different, pause, take a breath, and ask yourself, **, am I actually growing? Or am I running away from myself? **, you might not know the answer immediately. That's okay. Let the question stay with you. Because maybe the next chapter of your life isn't about becoming someone you've never been. Maybe it's about removing everything that convinced you that you had to be someone else. Maybe it's about becoming familiar with your own voice, your own desires, your own values, your own boundaries, your own way of living, and maybe, after all the searching, you'll realize that you weren't supposed to find yourself somewhere in the future. You were supposed to start paying attention to yourself right here. So grow, learn, change, dream, become. But don't spend your entire life trying to escape the person you are today. Get to know her, listen to her, understand her. And then decide, consciously, who you want to become. Because the goal was never to become a completely different person. The goal was to become more fully yourself. And maybe you've been closer to her than you realized all along. If this video made you think differently about your own journey, like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to this channel for more reflections on self-awareness, mindset, consciousness, and becoming. And remember, you don't have to become someone else to deserve the life you're building. You don't have to finish becoming before you're allowed to live. You don't have to fix every part of yourself before you're worthy of accepting yourself. You can grow. While being, you can change. While accepting, you can become, without abandoning yourself. And perhaps the most important question isn't, who do I need to become? It's, who am I underneath everything I've been taught to be? That might be where the real journey begins, Em.